let's get started. And we'll just flow with it right now and share our good energy together.
Yay.
All right. So welcome everyone. We're so happy that you're here tonight and happy to be bringing you PureEsperanza's In the Art of Living series. Tonight's topic is In the Art of Living, Winning Ways for Living. And if you're not familiar with PureEsperanza, we are a non-for-profit organization and establishing an international platform. We are dedicated to bringing forth consciousness while educating body, mind, and soul in the art of well-being. And we're so excited tonight because I get to go co-host with a dear friend of mine, Kurt Kruger, and I'll be sharing with you a little bit about his background and myself, Esperanza Smith, founder of PureEsperanza. So especially excited tonight because Kurt Kruger is not only a dear friend, but also an educator, international speaker, actualizer, best-selling author, and also peak performance trainer, just to name a few things that Kurt is doing and has done. And so before I get started and turn it over to Kurt, again, this is In the Art of Living, Winning Ways for Living. This is one of a three-part series. So we'll be building more on tonight's session in part 2, and that'll be July 2nd, and then on August 6th for part 3. And you guys are all familiar with the navigation tools, so I'll just let it go to that for us to be able to chat with one another and talk and share. And this will also be recorded. So this will be uploaded to share with your friends and hopefully invite them over for part 2 and 3. All right, so turning it over to you now, Kurt. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all.
Thank you, and thank you for coming, everybody. We have such a big crowd. I'm so pleased. The beautiful thing is, we know why we're here. We are here to constantly expand our consciousness because that's the nature of truth. I, at the very young age, always wanted to be able to adventure and explore things and question things. I always got into challenges. I was a little bit of a guy who had a little bit of what they call in Spanish, chingazos. I was doing a little bit of fighting in my day. I was very strong-willed and so on. And I was an ADD kind of a kid, but they didn't call us that in those days. I'm sitting in a house above a canyon I used to ride my bike to from San Fernando and hike up in the hills and get lost all day and then come back and eat. The adventuring really brought me to be able to explore edges. When I say edges, my brother and I got into competitive swimming, and we both ended up being elite athletes in that area. My brother was a national champion and 3-time All-American. I was only an All-American. We won some international senior Olympics. I learned about stress on a hijacked airplane and got to be able to teach it at Oxford Medical School and at the United Nations. They gave a program. And so I've had a little bit of an adventurous life. And for about 30 years, I was in the process of putting together a book, and it finally came out called Winning Ways for Living. And it's about all the things I learned in those days. The big key is that there's little things that come up in our daily life that we can learn from just about anybody, just about anywhere we can learn this. When we take that little bit of a practice, it's like the video that Esperanza is going to show on the screen. One little bit of a practice hits another practice, and you get a bigger kind of an experience because of that other practice. It gives you much more, let's say, power or force. It hits another one, the domino, but it keeps on getting bigger because you're ready for the bigger. You're stronger because you worked at these little things. And this is the power of slow but sure, of one step at a time, one day at a time. There's things called the 12-step program. It's a good idea. A lot of those little practices are good for just about anything in life. So I'd like to be able to have Esperanza show you this, and you can catch it on YouTube sometime. If you can get it full screen too when you get a chance. And
Right.
found on
Which one did you need now, Kurt?
this one that's showing.
Okay.
I double click it, but I can't.
Yeah. Let's see. Are you seeing it now?
It's not running.
Okay.
You need that sound on. It's a minuscule. You can see how small it is, like 5 millimeters high. That block that he's going to be picking up is about 100 pounds. So here's where your little practice, that's another bigger, better practice because you're ready for it. Look at that little thing. Boom, boom, shambo. So you've seen it once, you'll see it this next time. When it gets to, I think it was 27 blocks, it keeps on obviously getting bigger and bigger geometrically. That last one would be the size of the Empire State Building. It made a big sound. That's why he jumped like that. So that's good. Thank you, Esperanza. So I need to have a timekeeper. Who would like to be my timekeeper? Esperanza, you can choose.
Steven, you be my timekeeper.
Okay. What are we
Our
keeping?
timekeeper. Okay.
All right. Well, great. Every 20 minutes, I want you to raise your hand and make sure that I'll say, okay. And then I'll ask us to do a particular physical activity. So we've been sitting here maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Usually at every 20 minutes, an adult or anybody from about middle school onward would need to get up from their seat because they've been sitting this time, and the human body is not made for sitting. If you look at the structure, it's made for moving. It's made for doing things. Yet our education system is like the most insane factory system you could imagine. So every 20 minutes in the classroom, if they're smart, they get students up. Now I want you to do one thing. You can stand up behind your chair. Go ahead, we're gonna do this actually, so that you get an experience with it. You're gonna take your right elbow to your left knee as you breathe out, and then left elbow to your right knee as you breathe out. As you're standing up, you're breathing in. So when you bend forward, you're breathing out. When you're standing up, you're breathing in. And we're going to do this for about 15 seconds. Are you ready? Set, go. 1. Breathe out, breathe in. Breathe out, breathe in. As high as you can. If you can't reach your elbows, go ahead. That's okay. Breathe out, breathe in. And you do it as best you can. The important thing is the breathing and the cross-crawl movement. We do this for that amount of time because it actually makes the neocortex have synapse in the brain. The synapse occur because of that cross-crawl movement. The breathing allows you to have what's called pranayama, or special oxygenation of your body. The brain uses the most oxygen of any organ in your body. It's a pretty valuable little thing, but there's something even more valuable that we'll get into later in regard to doing meditation. But there's something called the mind, which is beyond the brain. The brain is the physical tool. The mind is the director, so to speak. And then when you tap into the spirit, that's another story. That's when there's nothing that you cannot do. And we have a picture of something that will shock you that will come up a little bit later in this presentation. So right now I've said, and we've done one simple practice. Are there any questions about anything so far? How did your experience go with the breathing? So most of you had that smile on your face when you sat down. You were lightened up.
Yeah.
So wait till we get to do the Watusi jump.
No.
Am I psyching you up or something, or psyching you
No, it's all good.
up? Excellent. I'm trying to go ahead.
I love the breathing just because I know that that's something that's my go-to all the time throughout the day. You know.
Excellent. Well, that is a perfect go-to. I'll give you a quick stress management practice, okay?
Okay.
If you're driving down the street, you know how well the people are trained in driving? They're trained as much in driving school as they are in regular school. They're not trained to be in the moment. They're just trained very little to be in the world. So some people are in their own world, and sometimes they get right in front of you in a way that is very dangerous, and you might want to show them their IQ. Sometimes it's a different finger, but that's different people. I actually do this. I bless them. I was raised Catholic, so in nomine Patri et Filii et Spiritus. That's a blessing. It's the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit. The very first thing, your blood is pumping. You're yelling and screaming some unkind words. But instead, it doesn't do a damn bit of good to do all that. You think it does because you're releasing your energy. But it's better to thump your thymus. Put your left hand at the base of your neck, and then you put your hand in the center of your chest, and take your other hand away. And right there underneath your finger, about 2 inches in, is your thymus. Your thymus is part of your endocrine system. That is the modulator of all of your endocrine system. So if you have too much stress, it stops the overproduction of those hormones that are going to be able to run or fight, right? If you have too much of those hormones in your body, it causes your body to use a lot of energy to transform it back into something that's not toxic. So we get to be able to not waste energy. We get to chill out a little bit better just by thumping the thymus, and then you can add a few deep breaths. Now, when I say thump it, it's pretty firm. It's not like, this is nice. Nice boy, nice boy. You thump it firmly.
Hello, Richard.
Not quite as hard as Tarzan did. And you don't have to yell, but you just thump it, and that modulates the endocrine system.
Kurt, we just had somebody join us. I just wanted to welcome Richard. Hi, Richard. We're a little bit ways in. So glad you joined us, though. And maybe, Kurt, if you can just share just one of the exercises that you were just showing us right now, and maybe we can all practice that real quickly. If you could just sum it up for Richard.
Richard, you're everywhere. I see you everywhere.
Wait, my wife's going to be here shortly.
Oh, that's a good combination. Yeah, I was just talking about thumping the thymus. And if you want, I can get a write-up about that sent to everybody through Esperanza. If she has your email, she can send you the PDFs that I may be bringing up in this program. It's all in my book called Winning Ways for Living, but you get to be able to have just what I call a handout when I give a workshop. In those days, 94,000 years ago, we used to give handouts at the end of a workshop so people can continue the practices. Now look at that. Steve is laughing because I say 94,000 years.
Yeah, I got you.
Some people recognize.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
all right, Richard.
Hi,
I love
Richard.
these guys.
Nice.
I didn't pay him very much either, you know. Well, you can look in there, the Thymus Thump in regard to, it's actually, I need to put in, I get to put in, excuse me, I get to put in an index for the next edition. as well as the glossary and a few other things. But yes, so this thumping of the thymus, if Richard, if you get into somebody pulls in front of you on the freeway, you know, you show them how old they are and you're yelling and screaming something. Instead, thump your thymus. So you put your left hand at the base of your neck, you put your right finger, let me get this down. Your right finger here, and 2 inches beneath your chest bone is your thymus, and that's the modulator of your endocrine system.
I've been doing that.
Okay, excellent. Oh, you had reason to, I bet.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's early in your book, right?
Yes, yeah.
Great. Hello. Someone else is right there. Hi.
This is
Oh,
Carol.
hi, I'm Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome, Carol. Good to see
Welcome.
you. Okay. So we just showed a video that shows a man putting about a 5 millimeter by, I don't know how many little millimeters thick or wide domino. And then it hits a geometrically bigger domino, and it hits another geometrically bigger domino. And it gets it so that people get to be able to see that little practices like this thymus thump, or like meditation, or like whatever you resonate with to start your spiritual practices, when you put it against another new spiritual practice and practice it, it knocks over, and it has the force of that generated geometrically and knocks over more and more. And by the 27th domino, it's as tall as the Empire State Building and as big. So simple little practices will transform your life. Sound good? So we get to keep doing that. And that's why we meditate every day. Simple practices. We add on another little practice, get more of the force generating, and we start to rock and roll. So, yes. Let me see what I can do here. So we have a timekeeper because every 15 minutes, or 20 minutes, we're going to be able to do a physical activity. We've already done that.
All right.
Now, how many people have a regular spiritual practice that they do daily? I figured as much. Yes, and those nice little giggles are because they work so well. Okay, then I'll jump off. Instead of going, well, there's so many, everybody knows about prayer and so on, but we'll jump into nutrition because I just had a beautiful smoothie. It happened to be a fruit smoothie in the afternoon, and I put a little bit of a protein powder in it, just a little, because nutrition can improve your endurance and strength up to 50%. Now imagine that. But your IQ can go up to 20 points higher. So I happen to have the most average IQ when I was young. And they told me not to go to college. It wouldn't do me any good. Well, I'm an adventurer, so I did what I wanted to do and I went to college. I have 3 college degrees.
Hi, Dawn.
Hello, Don. Welcome.
Welcome.
Bienvenidos. Willkommen. We have a few people that speak a number of languages. How many people speak more than 2? Okay, so
I'm barely pulling off the one, so.
How many can speak one well, right?
I've got 1 barely, but that's another story. We have a number of people. There's at least 3 people I think have 2 languages at least. How many people speak 2? Come on, raise your hand. 2, no más? Okay. That's very good. I only know a little bit of stuff. It'll get me in trouble and get me fed. So nutrition, getting back to food again, that's one of the things that bring us together is food. You get to be able to discuss things after a meal. The healthiest people are the people who sit around a table, kick back and eat slowly but surely, and kibitz. They just discuss things. We've had 2-hour-long meals during this pandemic. It's blissful. It's just amazing. And that's available to everybody, but we get caught up in stuff. And that's why we all meditate. We want to get rid of the stuff, the muhis, as they say in Croatian, these gnats, out of the head to be peaceful. We can be peaceful anytime, anywhere. I've been teaching a series at the Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Church in Pasadena on meditation. Every single session is a different form of meditation. Now, we have some people here who've been meditating with a guy named John Records, and he's a great, great soul. I mean, we are so blessed to have him around. John gives guided meditations, except the very first 5 minutes, it's not guided at all. We get to sit there totally peaceful, like we open sacred space at the start of our program before people got on. When you open that sacred space, that's why people pray before they eat. Because if you just go in and eat, your mind is doing what you've been doing, coming from work, doing whatever, getting the meal prepared, this, that, or the other thing. And so it's still frenetic instead of knowing what you're here to do. And we are here to eat at this time. And that's why it's important to have a prayer or silent time before you eat. It also sets it so the digestive juices are able to get ready to do something. And when you masticate your food and savor it, because the cook puts so much love in it. Ooh, as they say in Spanish, sabroso means very, very tasty, right? Grandma's food was the best. Mom's food was the second best, and right, things like that, right? Sometimes our food is pretty good, but it's all because of how much love we put into it. It's not just the physical things. Now, jumping to the physical in regard to nutrition. In the 1984 Olympic Scientific Congress, it's the most respected scientific congress in sports in the world. It happens every 4 years at the Summer Olympics. In '84, I was presenting on meditation and the ultimate performance in sports. The keynote speaker in nutrition was a guy named Michael Colgan from New Zealand. He proved in a placebo nutrition study on supplements that you not only get a placebo effect, but you also get the real effect. 7-minute average placebo effect in a marathon drop. 11 minutes when you had the real nutrition. Almost 50% more. IQ went up to 20 points higher with proper nutrition. The placebo effect was less, obviously. Same thing with the strength, you know. So we, in America, pulled him from New Zealand. He has a center down in Carlsbad, California, an institute. And he wrote a book and so on and so forth. But that was a little bit of proof of what just the physical stuff of nutrition does. When it's fully natural, read Gabriel Cousens' book, Conscious Eating. Dr. Gabriel Cousens got me to have my immune system go from 20%, and my adrenals were 20%, to 100% within 3 weeks after getting out of the hospital with sepsis. He's an amazing nutritionist. I consulted on his first book in 88, I think it was, 87, called Spiritual Nutrition and the Rainbow Diet, because I was an expert on the Kundalini at that time. So we've got so much to learn. Thank God we have 2 more sessions of this. We're doing okay so far. Any questions so far? Have I tripped you out enough? Is this news to you or is it not news to you?
That's news to me.
I see Dawn shaking her head. At least you got that good grin on your face. I love it. Okay. That's another thing that we get to do. I designed a happiness class at a ghetto school in Los Angeles. 3 years later, kids are still doing the homework. So at the end of this class, before we do what our closing, Esperanza is going to remind me about doing the happiness activity that we are going to let loose on. And we're going to oxygenate our system, reduce tension and stress on our neck and torso and our face. We're going to end up having what they call in Texas, a shit-eating grin on our face. Now, I don't know why they eat shit in Texas, but I do know I'm not fond of Texas.
Pascuala's from Texas.
Well, then you understand, viejita. I used to call all my students viejitos. And they say, no, you are. I say, no. When you were 3 years old, you looked up at somebody your age, which is about 14, and you thought they were old. And they go, yeah. I said, see? At any rate, you understand, thank God. Now, we have an activity of being clear with each other. Every moment, we get to be present. Did you feel what just happened? That simple change of voice, that just simple pause allowed us to pause, allowed us more to get out of our head into our heart. Isn't it beautiful? Just that pause that refreshes.
Well, as the official timekeeper, your 20 minutes is up.
Okay, well, you're 20 minutes up. Listen, let me give you some coaching now. This is when I'm ready
Okay.
for coaching. Are you ready for some coaching?
Absolutely.
Okay. There's no more trying or have to or mine. It's our. It's we. It is inclusive. And on the last program that I'm going to give, I will talk about inclusive affirmations. Who's heard of affirmations?
Oh,
Okay. If you've heard of affirmations, you're unique. If you haven't heard of affirmations, you're like most people. And you get to find out what they are, or you can look up a book called Affirmations by Noah St. John. It's a great book. I sent him an article I wrote about inclusive affirmations. He never wrote back about it. As far as I know, he hasn't included it in his programs. But he's a great soul, and he can take it and run with it if he wants, because I'm not going to be copywriting anything anymore, because life is worth living freely. And that's what's so beautiful about it. So is everybody ready to do the Watusi jump?
Good.
Ready.
I don't know if you saw it in the background, but that my wife is from South Africa, and we have a lot of African things in our house. But you're going to, while I'm talking, you're going to bounce on your heels. So you're going to get up off your heels and just sort of plop that's it, Esperanza. It looks like this, but you're just plopping on your heels. Your elbows and wrists are loose. Your shoulders are loose. You're just sort of plopping. And when I tell you to start, you're going to be jumping as high as you can, trying to get that head up to the ceiling, but not with a cushiony drop. I didn't say to start yet, quick people, but you're going to just keep bouncing as I described this, so that you get used to having the elbows and shoulders loose and just sort of plopping on your heels. You're going up and down, not stopping. It's not just sort of, if you have a bad back or you have some other issue with your ankles or knees or something else, you don't do it, but you can think about it and imagine it. You're going to be jumping as high as you can, and keep on jumping up and down, up and down. I can't do it because I have 4 discs replaced and 4 vertebrae fused. So that doesn't allow me to even get my heels off the ground. So we're going to do this for 15 seconds. As we land, each time we land, we're letting out, huh, 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 huh. As you go up, you breathe in naturally. You don't have to try to breathe in. As you come down, you let out all the air fast. It's a rapid, all the air out. Ready, set, go. Huh, 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 huh. Clear, clear. That's it. Loose elbows, let the hands go. Go. Keep going. You're doing well. Perfect. Keep going. Okay, thank you.
That's like yoga.
Okay, you see all the shitty grins I talked about? So how did that feel?
Weird.
Weird.
Wait till we have our last activity besides the sacred space. That activity will be really something, but it will free you so much. And it's the homework that I gave the students in the happiness class that they still do today. And it's because it worked. But when they started out, like maybe today when you start out, you may not do it, but maybe just a little bit, and then you want to stop. But you may free yourself by experimenting with this body, by experimenting letting go, and do it as fully and enthusiastically as you can, and not stop like Esperanza doesn't stop things. You know, she just keeps on going. She's like one of those Energizer bunnies, right? I see Steve is there. You know, he knows everything about it. Yeah. We just worked with basically some somatic and in a way psychosomatic issues. We haven't touched the spiritual issue. We got to touch it before we let go today. Because the spirit, as everybody knows in this room, is the most powerful force there is. Some people call it the force, the ki, the chi, but it is so powerful. And I'd like to give you the easiest practice that I found for teaching kindergarten kids or anybody else meditation. Everybody hold up your left hand, right in front of your face, facing you, the palm facing you. So it's right in front of your face. You're going to put your right forefinger at the base of your little finger. You're going to be raising it up as you breathe in. And we're going to go across and then down. As you go down, you're breathing out. As you breathe in, breathe out. We're going to go all the way across and back just a few times at your rate of breathing. It's important it's at your rate of breathing. You're breathing in, going up, breathing out, going down. Breathing in, going up, breathing out, going down. As you go in, breathe in with hum, breathe out with so. Hum, so. Hum, so in Sanskrit means I am that. So that little self is also the big self. That little soul is also that which supposedly created it. This simple breathing in and breathing out at your breathing rate allows you to be able to calm the mind, because breathing in slowly helps calm the heart rate, which helps calm the brain waves, When we do the hum as we breathe in and so as you breathe out, we're concentrating the mind, which then calms the heart rate, which then calms the breathing. So we burn the candle at both ends to get into meditation in a very easy, kinesthetic, psychological, spiritual practice, because it gets into the source of everything. Ah. Was good?
I got super dizzy.
Pardon?
I got super dizzy.
Super dizzy?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Do you know why? Do you know why you got super dizzy?
No, why?
Okay. One of the things, did you do the hum as you breathe in and so as you breathe out?
Yeah.
Okay. When you go quickly and you're not really breathing out as much as you normally would or should, then you can take in more oxygen than you normally would, which gets you to be able to begin to have what's called hyperventilation. When you hyperventilate, that's why the most powerful breathing practice is something called Shambhavi Bhastrika. Really quickly, you can get into meditation using that practice. It's called the breath of fire. You have to do it totally correctly, or you can cause problems rather than cure them. It's so powerful. The only thing you focus on is forcing all the air out, like we did when we were doing the Watusi jump. Force all the air out. Let the amount of air come in naturally with the in-breath. You don't have to force any air coming in. You would naturally breathe in the amount that you need. Automatically. Your autonomic system works really well. When you use your conscious mind, you'll never, ever hyperventilate. The important thing is getting all that used air, that old air, out of your system that can actually breathe out some toxins, can actually breathe out some of the things that are not good for your body. That's why we have that out breath. We get to purify our body. And we get to do this slowly but surely, just like that. When you see this video at the start, and maybe Esperanza can hook up the YouTube link to it from my PowerPoint. I gave a program at Witwatersrand University in Johannesburg, South Africa, where my wife actually went to school and graduated, and much of her family did. She fought apartheid and did all kinds of craziness. I'm married with an angel, and Esperanza knows her, so she knows how blessed I am. Because they did pray for the perfect relationship within the year. Within 4 months, we were married. We had never had a date. Never before we were married. That prayer is very powerful. I thanked God for the perfect relationship within the year. Boom, she came into my life. So I keep thanking God. So we have so much to do in this life. Our life today is probably the most opportune time to live in humanity. If you know anything about the Dark Ages ended with the pandemic. What grew out of that pandemic was the Renaissance. But the Renaissance included a lot of crap, like the Inquisition. But we get to keep on evolving because we're like that little domino that's able to knock over the Empire State Building as we do these simple practices and get another practice and another practice, and we keep doing it. I will refer you to another talk by a guy named Trevor Noah. He gave a great talk on dominoes just a few days ago. If you've seen it and heard it, it's powerful. It makes people understand what's happening now. And this funeral today was very powerful too. The thing that changes things is the heart, the spirit. The big focus. How many people have seen The Dark Crystal? It's an animated, not animated, what do they call that?
Like Puppet, Jim Henson.
Yeah, Jim Henson, yeah. So that shows pretty much what's happening now. We sort of monkish kind of people, we meditators, are like these monks that are off in the hills, keeping some sort of light on the planet because things are flourishing around them. But the rest of the planet is dark and just horrible because the Gekkis control it. You know, I'm not saying anything about Trump, okay? I got to bring humor to life a little bit. The thing is, I love the dude. He's the best person he can be. He gives us a chance to step up. He gives us a chance to grab our cojones and to be able to do something about life. Excuse my Spanish again, but that's what I get for living in the barrio. We have a chance right now to keep our heart flowing, to keep it open, to keep blessing people. If you want to see something, see The Gentle Art of Blessing. The Gentle Art of Blessing is by Pierre. It's on YouTube. You can see a 20-minute version or about an hour version. He wrote a book called The Gentle Art of Blessing. A dear friend of mine published it first and then sold it to Simon & Schuster. Every time he walked down the streets of Geneva, he started a practice initially, very slowly but surely, of blessing people that are sitting around or walking the other way or whatever. Blessings of light and love, blessings of health and wealth, whatever. But he did it inside. He didn't say, hey, this and all that. He wasn't gonna look like a freak. One day, a guy who's just sitting on the side, sort of not homeless, but sort of looking like that, because they don't have that in Switzerland. This guy jumped up after he had been blessed by this guy. He didn't know he was blessed. And he cold cocks Pierre. He's out for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. When Pierre wakes up, he comes to, the guy's gone, but he still blesses him again. And he walks on to get home. He thinks he's going to see a big shiner on his cheek. Nothing. Why? Because he stayed blessing. He stayed with his heart open. Key to life, key to joy, key to bliss is this: heart open. ¿Verdad?
Kurt,
Yes.
I'm being a timekeeper now, so we have about 8 minutes left. I wanted to make sure that we get some interaction going here with just some different ideas or questions, and I wanted to bring in an idea that we're all doing, like Kurt had mentioned about bringing in little practices, daily things that you can be doing all the time. So I wanted to bring in this right now because it's so easy. And I want everybody to go into the chat box and just type in what you're feeling in this moment. One word, an adjective to describe what you're feeling in this moment. Just a check-in with yourself and sharing it with us. So if you just type in that one word in the chat box, then that gives us a little bit of feedback about what's going on here and go from there. Okay, so tenderness, thank you, Pasquala. And Stephen, refreshed. Excitement, Dawn. Wonderful. And
That's
Kurt,
right.
you got your word? Your adjective?
Love. I didn't put it in there, but that's all it's about. This thing here too is about nutrition. Now I actually have this color because if you keep it in the sun, this color vibration goes into it.
Yeah.
This is a very high vibration if you know anything about colors.
Yeah.
And this is the most important nutrient that you can get into your body. Excuse me. Love is the most important nutrient, but that comes out of your body. That's another story. But when you give love, you get love back. It never stops.
Yeah.
So this water, hydrate yourself. At least 2 ounces of water, an ounce of water for every 2 pounds of your body weight. So if I'm 200 pounds, I drink 100 ounces of this a day. Just water. If it's tea, doesn't count. If it's milk, doesn't count. I would highly suggest you get off any dairy products, especially if you have allergies. If you're allergic or if you have asthma, you make sure you connect with me because I have a 30-page document that'll show you how to stop having asthma and allergies. Not a single person who's used it according to the description has ever failed to stop having allergies and asthma. The man who told me about it had asthma so bad that it took him a whole month to get off of his inhaler that he'd used every day for most of his life. But it took him a month. It cost him less than $100 because it's a natural product that got him to stop having that. I took 1 week to be able to have that happen I had bronchial asthma. I was almost hospitalized. And I took this stuff. And for 2.5 years, I had no asthma, no allergies. As soon as I started to get allergy, I'd take the dosage again, no more. So there's so much that we can give each other.
Yep.
It's
It's in my hand again.
Yes. Oh, excuse me.
Okay. All right. So serene and relaxed is what Richard and Carol said. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you're all sharing these feelings that you're having. And I just wanted to, use that as a way for you to just know that these check-ins that you do throughout the day, as you're walking down the street, when you're on a task in your home doing something, just checking in with what am I feeling right now? Am I feeling in my feet? How are my hands? How are my shoulders? Is there tension in my neck? These little things that we can easily overlook are just going to help us to develop more of a feeling of stilling ourselves, that little check-in that we do, listening, being able to just practice that observation and that development of that relationship with ourselves. So I just wanted to make sure that, hold on, I got a kitty here. Anyway, I wanted to make sure that we remember to use these little types of check-ins that we can do throughout the day, as well as things that we easily overlook, like just having fun as a navigation tool like we did here tonight. There's so much energy in just understanding what it is that we have fun doing. So take a moment right now real quick and think about something fun. Just picture it in your mind, take about 10 seconds, imagine to yourself something that's really fun, and then notice the feeling. Now, that feeling that you have, that's still living right now, and it was just in your imagination. It wasn't even doing it. You can imagine how powerful the activity of actually doing that, which is fun, would be for you. And that energy that we create is so important in how we not only view our situation around us, but what we also attract to us. So take time to have those experiences of fun and trust into them and be guided by them, because they really are useful tools. Just little practices, again, that we can do. And before we go, I want to make sure that there's other things we can talk about. We will talk about more of these different things that we can be doing. And really between now and the next time, I would love to hear about the practices that you've been doing, about ways that we can share with one another, because we're always learning more. And before we go, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew about Kurt's information that was at the top of the chat. you can go back to that. Kurt, did you want to share a little bit about that information? Where they can find your books and just all your work and your body, your life.
I just put in something on that, but Winning Ways for Living, I didn't quite spell it well because I was trying to do it quickly before you ended up.
Yeah. And further up on the chat, if you scroll up, you can find successsystemsinternational@gmail.com and also www.successsystemsinternational.net. So that's the website. If you haven't heard about us, Pure Esperanza, we are a nonprofit organization dedicated to bringing forth consciousness while educating body, mind, and soul. And we have a community page, an Experience Us page with more webinars like this and many others, just always looking at ways to create opportunities so that you can experience a holistic approach of well-being for your life. And you can find us at pureesperanza.org. I'm Esperanza Smith, founder of Pure Esperanza, in case you don't know me. And also, look at the community page and the writers, the guest blog writers on there, just always sharing all kinds of tools and teachings. And lastly, you can also find daily inspiration, connection, and sharing on Pure Esperanza Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. And, for all that we're trying to do is just find ways to connect with one another, because we know that this time that we're in is really a movement of consciousness that's happening for all of us. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Kurt, so that you can really lead us into this last moment of a sacred space before we close out here tonight.
Yes.
Honoring everyone's time and space. Thank you.
We get to be present right now. If you will, you can either close your eyes or you can have your eyes just at a gaze and allow yourself to just feel the breath going in at the rate it goes in and out. Just experience it. And once you've done that, allow yourself to simply let go. Let go, and you can drop inside to that calm, peaceful, loving space. The forces in that peace, just as the force of a hurricane is that eye of the hurricane. Just like that Taoist master, the Tai Chi master. You are that. You get to take this with you because it can never, ever go away. And if you sense it going away, put your hand on your heart. Anytime you sense that feeling going away and you want it back, put your hand on your heart. It can happen 100 times in a day. And slowly but surely, just like the domino, you're going to be more and more powerful and more present. And that's what you are, is a present with your presence. I thank you for being here. Keep blessing everybody. When I say everybody, it does not mean just sentient beings. We think we're the only sentient beings running around, and maybe animals. Mother Nature is more conscious than so many people have tuned into. If you want to know about that, ask me about it. I can give you book references, but that's only for your left brain. You're feeling right now this presence is the most important thing you can do. Keep it with you. You deserve it. Thank you.
Peace, everyone. Thank you so much again for being here.
Love you
And
guys.
hit us up, yeah, so we can all stay connected.